Waymo has now just expanded its coverage map. This is crazy. So I got this email. You can see this, boom. I'll let this play out. This is San Francisco. That new light blue is a new coverage map. So you can see this in real time that's way bigger than before. San Francisco, whole new section. And then Silicon Valley, more. This is pretty wild because now, when I look at this, you can see with LA, for example, explore Windsor Hills, Silver Lake. A big one for me is actually Playa del Rey here, because I actually go to Playa del Rey a lot. One of my friends lives there, and she is like, or used to be, like 5 or 6 blocks away from the Waymo cutoff. Doesn't exist anymore. South in San Francisco, whole new section here. More Silicon Valley, more coverage. And when I look at the current site now, we have the main 4 cities, like I've talked about in a bunch of videos: Phoenix, San Fran, LA, and Austin. Austin, you do have to use Uber to order it. Keep that in mind, but things are moving fast with Waymo, very, very fast. And then in addition, we have Atlanta, which I've talked about before. Waymo's coming soon. And now Miami. That's actually crazy. I just heard about Miami in real time as I'm filming this video. So things are moving incredibly fast. And again, looking at the coverage maps, to show you again, this is a big thing for me in LA because I want to zoom into the actual heart of it. For anyone who lives in LA knows what I mean. Before the cutoff was like here in Marina, before Playa. Now it includes Playa, Westchester, SoFi Stadium. So I can go from like Prince of Wales, if you know, you know, and Playa del Rey, all the way to like, I don't know, 4100 Bar in Silver Lake. Like that's a huge spread. I did look into this out of curiosity. If I were to go from like the tip here in Silver Lake all the way to like the tip here in Playa del Rey, it'd be about $70. I feel like that's probably a little, at least right now, a little more expensive than getting an Uber or Lyft, but it probably depends, right? Because I know the price of Waymo just fluctuate. But this is a huge map for LA where I'm like, dang, it's expanding a lot. The one thing you may notice over here is one, it's not in the South Bay yet, Manhattan Beach, Hermosa. But 2, this right here, where the words are you can, this is the airport. Right now, you cannot take a Waymo to the airport, which is probably why they're trying to figure that out. I feel like the airport is a whole other can of worms when it comes to self-driving cars and this kind of technology. So I wouldn't be surprised if this blue section maybe goes around here and it goes down. I mean, this is El Segundo too, so maybe they include like El Segundo, then go down here and eventually include the airport. I'm not sure how they're gonna do it, but this expansion is pretty massive. And that's why on this channel, I have been doing a lot of updates about Waymo, about what's going on, because I just did a video. It was more of like a fireside chat style video when I was at the park, talking about how it's interesting that in the beginning, Waymo was always more expensive than Uber and Lyft. It's kind of like a novelty. And then I noticed in my personal experience, it started to fluctuate. Like now, especially with this new coverage, when I go to order an Uber, I go Uber, then Lyft. That's what I used to do. But now I do Uber, then Lyft, then Waymo. Whichever one's cheaper to me, I'm going to take it. I'm indifferent. Whatever the universe wants, if the universe says take an Uber because it's cheaper, I'll do that. Same thing with Waymo. And I had this feeling that people would be willing to spend whatever cheap amount of money they can and get whatever ride they can. Meaning if Uber's cheaper, they're going to take that. If Waymo's cheaper, they're going to take that. They kind of don't care. That was my perspective. And if Waymo is going to consistently get cheaper and cheaper, which is what it seems like to me in my own personal experience, that's not good for human drivers, especially in these cities. And these cities, if you look at ride sharing, are the biggest cities, in my opinion, in the country for ride sharing, except Boston. I think Boston's still one of the top 5 to 7, I'd say. But LA and San Francisco alone, 2 of the biggest cities, in my opinion. Phoenix, decent. Austin's a pretty decent city too. Now Atlanta and Miami. So this is something that is, I hate to say, really starting to affect human drivers. Because then, I covered an article in statistics by Obi, and they basically demonstrated that, one, on average, Waymo was always, or excuse me, not always, but like statistically speaking, over all these rides that they analyzed, Waymo's more expensive than Ubers and Lyfts. Lyft is typically cheaper. Uber's then second most expensive, and then Waymo's the most expensive, right? In that order. And what they found in this study and survey and statistical analysis is that even though Waymo is statistically speaking more expensive than Uber and Lyft on average when you go to order it, people are still ordering it. And I think that is a big interesting thing of what's going on right now in this ride-sharing world, in this ride-sharing market, that you're having a lot of people in a very, very interesting way. You're having a lot of people who, even if it's more expensive, are choosing to pick a Waymo over an Uber and Lyft. And this, to me, I gotta be honest, is really, really interesting that right now on average, Waymo does about 250,000 rides a week, about 1 million rides a month just among these 4 cities. And when that's showing, I mean, 1 million rides a month, what that's showing is, one, Waymo's getting more popular than ever before as it's spreading, and especially in different markets and in different areas. And then 2, and I think this is a bigger thing, people are willing to spend, which blew my mind, I'll be honest, blew my mind. People are willing to spend an upcharge for a Waymo, even if there's a cheaper option available. Statistically speaking, even if there are cheaper options, because Uber and Lyft is statistically speaking cheaper than Waymo when you go to order one, but people still want that Waymo. Now, again, I talked about this in that video. Is it maybe a safety thing in terms of Waymos being statistically speaking safer than human drivers? Is it the privacy? I think it's probably the privacy. Is it the novelty in terms of just, oh, it's cool, I'm in a Waymo, the future's here? Is it maybe the curiosity? I think a lot of people maybe in the beginning, once Waymo got taken off the wait list, took Waymo out of curiosity. And I still remember the first time I took a Waymo, and it's kind of trippy, right? So Waymo's gotten significantly more popular. And I think with the price point being as high as it is right now, again, in my personal experience, I feel like sometimes it's a coin flip. Sometimes Waymo is cheaper than Uber and Lyft. Sometimes it's not. But one thing is this, is not only is Waymo here to stay, not only is it getting more popular, but now it's getting to a point where I think it's now becoming a concern, I'll be honest, for some human drivers. I'm just gonna say that. With the expansion of this map in terms of LA, that's a big thing. Because for me, there were some times where I'm like, oh man, I wish I could take a Waymo right now. And I couldn't because the coverage map. Now it's a lot better. Then you look at San Francisco, huge new section. Then you look at Silicon Valley, huge new section as well. So with the expansion of these coverages and how popular Waymo is getting, it is something I think to be aware of, because one thing I've talked about for my Uber and Lyft drivers out there in 2025, I just did a video like, should he be a Lyft driver in 2025? And one big thing I talked about in that video as one of the tricky things right now about being a rideshare driver is too many drivers being on the road. There's way more drivers now than passengers, and although there's more people taking Ubers and Lyfts than ever before, there's never been more drivers signing up. And I know some drivers have said to me like, yeah, Mark, before I used to go out, get nonstop rides, now it's not like that anymore. And with there being too many drivers on the road, because there's a finite amount of rides to go around, when you factor that in terms of too many drivers being on the road, now this is one of those situations where I think with the expansion of coverage, with the popularity, with the ease of using it, and I might even say now with the, the indifference to the higher price point, Waymo is really starting to take over. And granted, there's a lot of people now who are saying, hey, rather than taking Uber Lyft, I'd rather take a Waymo. They're choosing the Waymo even though it's more expensive. Now, one thing I will say is I feel like these markets, LA and San Fran especially, Silicon Valley, Phoenix, Austin, are very tech heavy. And these are very expensive cities to live in. So to some people, if let's say it's a $20 Waymo or $15 Uber, some people are saying, it's only $5, who cares? To other people, they're like, hey, that's $5. That's $5, I'd rather take that Uber. But with these cities being very tech heavy, and I think also a lot of people having a lot of money, I think Waymo, to some people, are saying, hey, I'd rather pay a higher price to have the privacy to be in the car, to feel safer, and I think maybe even more so too, maybe there's an element of being able to work, right? Like I know for me, sometimes I do feel bad if, let's say I'm on the phone, whether it's a business call or just a personal call, I get in the car, I say hi to the Uber driver, I'm like, hey, I'm really sorry I'm on the phone. Most Uber and Lyft drivers are very nice and courteous about this. But it is something to be said that with a Waymo, you just kind of get in, you don't have to have that formality of dealing with a person. And I think there's pros and cons to this, because I feel like, at least for me, I have had situations where I wanted a human driver. Like I didn't want a Waymo because I wanted to talk to somebody, right? I want that human connection. There's been other times where I just was not really in the mood for it. Like say it was the night after going out, like say I'm just not feeling my best, like say I'm just not in that mood, like say I'm on a call, the Waymo is more convenient, right? So this is something that you're seeing a lot right now in the ride-sharing Waymo world, that Waymo is really starting to take over. And I think especially after seeing that article written by Obi and TechCrunch as well, made me be like, dang, I did not expect that this was the situation we're living in. And now this expansion of coverage, which just happened like yesterday, Waymo is continuing to expand at a very rapid rate.